welcome back to Baucom's Bookshelf. Today we are going to be going over the books I read in the month of April as well as my upcoming TBR for the month of May. So let's forgo all the rambling and jump straight into rambling about books. And this video will be spoiler free, so don't worry. There will be my thoughts in the video, but I won't spoil anything. I read 19 books in the month of April 2026. Some of them a lot better than others, but we'll get into that. So let's jump right in. I think I'm going to start at the series I finished and then go basically from worst to best. So let's start at the Cursebreaker trilogy by Bridget Kemmer. Now, I loved Bridget Kemmer's other series, the Defy the Night series. It was so good. I rated every book 5 stars. So when I figured out about this trilogy she made, I was like, beautiful, I'm going to love it again. So the first book in the trilogy is A Curse So Dark and Lonely. This book is essentially a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Ren was cursed and he is a prince of a kingdom and he has to make a girl fall in love with him. Now so far no girl has fallen in love with him, and if they don't fall in love with him he turns into a monster. However, one day Harper sees a woman on the streets of Washington DC getting kidnapped and she intervenes and she is transported to this new world. So when I first read this, I was like, wow, Bridget Kemmer did it again. A political romantasy that I thoroughly enjoyed. It had its hooks in me. I was in love with Ren and Harper. Their relationship was so cute. Gray, who is the guard in the book, is so cute as well. So I was like, oh my god, I have high hopes. I finished this and then immediately grabbed the second book with high hopes. I'm talking about an hour later. This book follows immediately after the first, and Emberfell, which is the kingdom Ren and Harper in, is now full of distrust, deceit, and really rebellion, and questions of who can be trusted to run this kingdom. I gave this book 1 star, and the writing wasn't the issue for me, it was the direction the author took the characters in. These characters just didn't seem like the same people I fell in love with in the first book, and mostly because they are not. The book completely switches POVs from Ren and Harper to 2 other people in this book, and I just wasn't as attached to them as I was in Ren and Harper. But not only that, every character from the first book has a complete 180 in personality to this book. Their personalities, relationships, and motives all fell off in a way that I just couldn't connect with, and I was like, okay, who are these new characters? Honestly, you could convince me that this book and this book were written by 2 completely different authors that were just given the same setting and character names and tad bit of info, and they both wrote their hearts away and the story was not cohesive at all. The pacing was another challenge I had this book. It dragged so much throughout the middle, and then when we got to the end, things started happening. But again, it was things I didn't enjoy because I felt like we just destroyed our characters and turned them into someone we don't even recognize. So after I read the second book, I took a very long break because I was just so upset at the second book. I even posted a TikTok complaining about the character assassination that happened from book 1 to book 2, and I wouldn't say a lot of people agreed with me, but the only people who commented agreed with me, so that's what is important, really. And then I went on to Reddit, as you do, and everyone on Reddit I found also agreed that the characters were just flipped 180 and they're not the same people. So it took me about the entire month to pick up the 3rd book in the series, which is A Vow So Bold and Deadly. This book picks up right after the second. War is on the horizon. There's multiple claims to a throne, there's rising tension between certain kingdoms, and everything just seems to be falling into shambles. Now this one was really hard to get through. I already wasn't happy and excited with the events of the second book, but I figured, maybe she flipped 180 to the second book, maybe we'll flip 180 back and our characters will be back to the people we know and love. Well, how naive, how foolish I was to think that. The characters and the actions in this book just got worse. It was even worse. It was like, again, completely different characters. And there were moments in the book that characters that should care about each other just did not. And like we've been told the whole time throughout the series that, oh, these 2 characters respect each other, they are friends even. And then basically one of the characters spits not actually spits in the face, but I'm using it metaphorically, like he spits in her face. And because he just does not care, it feels like. Overall, I hated the conclusion of this book. I felt like no one got what they deserved. Some characters, I think, got more than they deserved, and some characters got nothing they deserved. It was a tragic letdown for me. My honest recommendation would be to read the first book and then don't read these 2. Like, treat the first book as a standalone. Actually, I changed my mind. We're going to go in the order I've read them in. during the month. Next, we have Everyone Here is Lying. This is a thriller / mystery, very short, so it's very easy to get through. I gave this book 3.5 stars. This book takes place in a very happy, friendly, safe neighborhood. However, our family man is not the guy he seems. While everyone thinks he's some upstanding man, he really is having an affair and has some anger issues. So one day when his affair leaves him and breaks up with him and he goes home and to find his defiant daughter, he loses his temper. Now, hours later, this family has to report their daughter missing. And our main male character isn't the only one hiding lies on the streets. This book, I enjoyed it. It was my first book by this author that was recommended to me by a random lady in the parking lot. And she actually gave me these books, so very sweet of her. It was a fun thriller. I do think it was a little bit like out of what could happen. But with thrillers, you often have to suspend your beliefs and your disbeliefs of what could and could not happen. So I really enjoyed this. It kept me going. It wasn't as exciting as other thrillers, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now we have Pet Sematary. What can I say about Pet Sematary? Well, the first thing I can say is I didn't enjoy it, and before all the Stephen King stans come after me, I'm sorry, I'm not coming after your man. I just thoroughly did not enjoy this book. This was the first book by him I read, so I do have The Long Walk on my shelf, so I am going to read that at some point. But this book follows a doctor who moves to a new town, and his family's there too, and then weird things start happening in relation to a cemetery that he is shown for pets. I just felt like this book spent so much time on details that were important, and I get Stephen King was trying to endear us to the main male character and get us to care about him and his family, but the pages just felt wasted to me a little. It just made the pacing drag. And one thing that really bothered me is the main male character and his thinking patterns. Now, he oftentimes focused on such small trivial things he lost sight of the big picture. Do I know how I would react in situations like this? No, but I stand to believe I would react differently. At first, I was enjoying it, and I thought it was more slow built, and I thought everything would pay off in the end, and it would be like thrilling and scary, which is what everyone told me. However, I never got any of those feelings. I was never scared. I was never freaked out. I just felt bored. And for the king of thriller and horror, I should not be feeling bored, in my belief. And next we have The Maiden Game by Lana Ferguson. Now, I am a lover of werewolf romance books. I have been since I was like 10 on Wattpad reading them. So any werewolf romance, typically for me, I enjoy. There is one or two I don't, but I did enjoy this one. I thought it was a super cute book. I often struggle to find things to say about 3 and 3.5 star books because to me these are just average books, which is what I felt like this one was. This story follows a contractor. She is our female main character, and she has been contracted to basically turn around this lodge that is owned by a grumpy, broody werewolf man. Now, our female main character does not know she is actually Omega, and Omegas and Alphas, which is the main male character, are like very much attracted to each other biologically. It was just a fun book that I enjoyed. Next, we have Want to Know a Secret by Frida McFadden. I am oftentimes a lover of Frida McFadden, so when I don't like a book by her, it really takes me as a pause. Do I expect phenomenal writing from her? No, but I do expect to be entertained. And I just wasn't entertained through this book. This book follows our female main character, who is essentially an influencer and puts forth online that she has this perfect life, when in reality she doesn't, and there's so much happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. One thing I don't like about books is when characters lie to me for no reason. Now, if there's an actual good reason, for example, Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games, because our queen is a unreliable narrator and we know why. In this book, the main characters and the other characters that lie to me, it just didn't feel authentic. It felt like a cheap way to drum up some plot. Next, we have What Moves the Dead. This book follows a soldier who is called to essentially her childhood home because a friend is dying, and she comes to essentially check on her, but weird things start happening. I give this book 0 stars. I really didn't like the writing style in the book, so I just couldn't get into it or care. Regardless of how short the story was, it took me a phenomenally long time to read this book for how short it is. Next, we have The Wingman. This is the 3rd book in the Vancouver Storm series. This book follows our female and main male character. Our female main character just broke up with her ex-boyfriend of a long time and moves in with our main male character. Now, the main male character and the female main character have been best friends for a while, and he has lots of feelings for her. This book was just so cute to me. I gave it a 4.5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Is it the best piece of literature ever? No, but it was entertaining, it was cute, it was fun. I had such a good time reading it, and there are certain parts I went back and reread 3 or 4 times just because I was like kicking my feet. Next, we have Sarah Adams' The Rule Book. This book follows our female main character who is a sports agent. She just got a promotion and is now able to work with an actual sports person to represent them. However, the person she gets assigned to is our main male character whose heart she actually broke years ago and he never forgave her. I give this book 1.5 stars. Now, did I think it had potential? Yes. But I think we did not realize on the potential, especially in one certain area regarding feminism. Our female main character is supposed to be this big feminist. She tells us multiple times in the book, her mom tells us, other people tell us she is a huge feminist. However, while she calls out other people for not being feminist, including or actively being misogynistic against women, like a guy she works with, we never call out the main male character that she falls in love with for being anti-feminist at some points and being misogynistic at some points. Did I agree with what the author was trying to say about sports and sports-related fields being very misogynistic and not women-friendly? Yes. I majored in recreation management in college, and one of my professors told me, like, as a woman, you have to work 20 times hard if you're going into, like, a recreation sports field, just because that's how it is. So, yes, I 1,000% agree with what the author said. However, when we get to the parts about the main male character being misogynistic or even at some points anti-woman, we never address it. And it's not even like in the book our female main character goes, hey, you know that crap you did? Totally not cool. For example, and this is not spoilers because it happens very early in the book, because he does not want her to be his sports agent, he decides to essentially haze her into quitting. Now, how does he do this? He does this by making her do demeaning work. She even says in the book that no sports agent would actually be made to do this. So she does know it. But some of the things included that he has her doing is cooking him dinner and lying to her that it's for a date, so she needs to make him fettuccine Alfredo, making her organize his closet, making her wake up at 4 a.m. to film workout videos for him. Now, the author tries to play it off like, oh, but she loves organizing, so it's fine. Oh, but she got back at him by sewing his pants leg up on one side to make them uneven. But we never addressed that he would not have made a male sports agent he didn't like do this. It's only because she's a woman that he had beef with her, and because that he's going to make her do these things that are very, like, degrading to do. And there are a few moments in the book where people are like, dude, you're being a baby, but there's no moment of someone saying, dude, you would not have made a man do this. And I think that was a really important conversation to have if we are framing this book as some kind of feminist outcoming. And it's not even done in a thoughtful way where we can say, because she's in love, she overlooked it. Like, that is 1,000% a good critique to have. Is because she's so in love with this man, she's willing to overlook the things he does that breaks her morals. But we never had that conversation either. And it was not done intentionally. Next, we have Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. This book follows our female main character, and one day her life is forever changed. She finds out her husband is holding people hostage and is threatening to them if he doesn't get what he wants. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I think it was really fun. It is a bit different than other thrillers I read because instead of working up to the action, well, you still work up to the action, but you're like action, if that makes sense. So it's very different, and the twist at the end was pretty cool too. I enjoyed it that much. However, again, I don't really have much to say because it is a book I enjoyed. But it wasn't like amazing, but it wasn't bad. It was just completely average. Next, The Dinner Party by Frida McFadden. This is a choose your own adventure book. So what that means is at the end of most chapters, there is a question that says, are you going to do this or that? And based on your choice, you turn to a certain page. So you are really in charge of the story. And I think there's like 22 or 26 different endings you can uncover. I gave this book 4 stars, and let me say, it was an absolute hoot. I had such fun time in this book, not because it was good or serious or perfect. I was just cackling at all the endings. It was literally so genuinely unpredictable, some of the endings, that I never saw them coming. Next, we have My Funny Demon Valentine. I gave this book 3 stars. Again, perfectly average book. This follows our female main character and a male main character. Our male main character is actually a demon who escaped from hell and is now living in the human world. And one night he meets our female main character, but things go down and he has to fight his way out, and he turns into a demon, and she sees, and now she thinks something's wrong because she can't really decide if she saw what she saw or if she's crazy. This book is a very light, cozy fantasy. Now, is there much going on in it in the way of like high fantasy? No, but it's fun, it's silly, it doesn't take itself too seriously. Next, we have The Haunting by Natasha Preston. I would say she's the YA Frida McFadden. Their writing styles to me are very similar. This book follows our female main character who is living kind of a completely different life. A year ago, her boyfriend's dad was actually found out to be the schmurderer that is schmurdering kids all across town. And everyone kind of distanced themselves from that family and by extension her because they kind of associate her with him. But now it's been a year and bodies are starting to pop up across town again and everyone's so quick to point the finger at her old boyfriend. This book is a really good YA thriller. There is an inkling of adult issues in there that I think is really great for that older YA readers to look at and prepare them for adult books. However, of course, the main characters, because they're kids, make kid choices that I personally disagree with, but that's par for the course. Next, I'm going to do these two books at the same time. It is Heartless by Elsie Silver and A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver. All of Elsie Silver's books to me are kind of interchangeable. I give them basically all 3 stars, I think except 1 or 2. This book is 3 stars and this book is 3 stars. This book follows our female main character and male main character. Our male main character is looking for a nanny for his son and she gets recommended, so he hires her and they fall in love. And this book follows a female main character who is a jockey and our main male character who is essentially rich. I don't even know what he does. Like, he has a job, but I couldn't tell you. Anyways, they meet on a chat room a while ago and things petered out. It didn't end up as it's supposed to, and now there's tension between them. These books were perfectly fine. Like, the writing is good. It does follow the classic arc of a story, like leading up, conflict, leading down. I quite would rate this book better than this one because this one had a comment in it that I just found very off-putting, very Colleen Hoover-esque, where they're talking about his son, and he goes, I want my son to grow up to be like you. Like, I'd be happy if he did. And our female main character said, so you'd be happy if you propositioned his nanny? And keep in mind, they're talking about it in an intimate way, and this kid's 5. It's, like, very weird to me. Next, we have The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. I hated this book. So this book follows our female main character who is a baker, and of course her last name is Baker. She's a TV personality, and our main male character is a hockey star. Now, in the past, he had this big scandal, and he had to move hockey teams, but now he's back. One thing that irks me with this book is the characters are all like 25 plus, but we're acting like we're 7 years old. And I hate when characters are just immature for the point of being immature to cause conflict. And the main relationship in the book felt off to me from the beginning. Just the dynamic felt really power heavy, if that makes sense. It comes across as forced, and the shift from the characters caring about each other just doesn't feel realistic to me, and it feels kind of icky. And also, for a fake dating trope book, this book barely does any fake dating. They go on like 2 dates. And to be a sports romance, there's almost no sports. And the side characters and the side plots sucked. I just did not enjoy my time in this book. It's going to take me so long to walk and get that book. Next, we have Men Who Hate Women. This book is so important, and I think everyone should read it. I gave it 5 stars. I was literally, like, on the verge of throwing up and writing a thesis at the same time when I was reading this book. This book is written by civil rights activist Laura Bates as she goes undercover into incel communities online and in real life. I can't even say much, but this book is sickening in the best ways possible, as in you understand so much when you read this book, and I think everyone should read it. Like, especially if you're a woman, you need to read this book. Next, we have Run on Red. This follows 2 female main characters on their way to a party. Now, on their way to the party, they notice this car that's kind of tailgating them and causing some issues. At first, they think it's just road rage, but then they discover it's more. And these men, they can't seem to shake them no matter what our female main characters do. I enjoyed this book. Again, I had a good time reading it. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was fun. It was thrilling. The twist at the end took me somewhere I wasn't expecting it from how common the beginning is of, 2 young girls in their party clothes going off to a party and getting stopped, essentially. However, there were some editing issues in this book. Our main character's clothes changed. So at one point she was wearing like strappy sandals, and at another they transformed to ballet flats for no reason. And then our author doesn't seem to have a good grasp on technology in 2006. Now keep in mind, I had a flip phone twice in my life. I had one when I worked on my internship at college, and I also had a flip phone as my first phone. So I am experienced with flip phones. The author describes the batteries on flip phones as percentages. Like, she keeps referencing like 10%, 5%, 1. When IRL, there was no percentages on a flip phone. It was bars. Like, you have 1 bar battery left. And so that kind of took me out of the story, as well as she also described the text as green text bubbles, which just wasn't a thing that was like that in 2026. It is like that now, in 2006. And then I read Not a Happy Family. This book follows a big rich family, and they all kind of hate each other a little bit. And then one day, the patriarch and the matriarch of the family is, and all the siblings and all the townspeople and all the cops think one of the siblings did it because they all stand to benefit. I like this book. It was a fun, good time. I quite enjoyed it. The only negative to it was at some points all the siblings felt a little same in the way they talk and act. So at some points it was hard to tell them apart. Now let's get into my TBR for the month of May. I did not choose many books because month of May, June, July, and a little bit of August is such a busy time at work for me that I don't want to set myself up for failure. But what we have is My Funny Demon Valentine, which is fantasy and romance. Powerless, which is romance. When You Were Everything, which is contemporary. First Light Wins, which is thriller mystery. The House Across the Lake, which is thriller mystery. Mile High, which is romance. The God Killer, which is fantasy. This title I always struggle with because there's so many ands and thes. The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which I believe is romantasy. So let me know what books you read and honestly what you want me to do for this channel. I do have some stuff planned out, but I'm more than happy to shift my plans around if you're interested in seeing anything. I know right now I'm talking to no one, but in the future,